Welcome to Decode with Anu. Today we have a very amazing topic on forgiveness. And we have Dr. G.L.Sampoorna with us. She's from Chennai. And I met Sampoorna more than 15 years ago when I was doing a workshop on neuro-linguistic programming. And after 15 years, when I see her here, and we are going to hear amazing work that she's been doing. She is an internationally renowned psychologist and also has done immense work, research work in forgiveness in India. So that's Sampoorna. Thank you, Sampoorna, for being here with us.
Thank you.
What has been your journey what inspired you to work around and do research in forgiveness?
While working with clients over many decades, I found that the quickest form of healing for them was through forgiveness. And it was not something that I had planned or I had known when I was working with them initially. We would be working, and then I would find that every time some shift happened, a big shift happened, it would be just after some forgiveness work had happened. And at that time, I was not particularly focusing on forgiveness or anything. It would have happened spontaneously, or something that we did might have led to the client feeling forgiving towards someone. And soon after that, it would just happen that some big breakthrough would be there, and there'll be a lot of progress in their work. So gradually, I started noticing this more and more. And then I began to focus on actually supporting them in the process of forgiveness.
And that's where then you started doing deep research work in this space.
And actually then I created the workshop. I started with a 3-hour module, and then it evolved, it grew into a 1-day, it grew into a 2-day, then it became a 3-day workshop. And I was running the workshop. I was going around the world because I was being invited to other countries to run the workshop. And at that point, I was also doing my research, and I said, it would be good to know. I knew there were changes happening because every time I went back to a different country or a different city, people who had done that workshop earlier would meet me, and then they would say, the benefits are still there, and in fact it's increasing, and it's life is getting even better and all that. So I knew that change happened and that people were benefiting. But I thought it will also be good to know what actually happens. And so then the research, the results were much more astounding than I could have ever imagined, because in every area there was so much growth. And then when we did a follow-up after 3 months, we found that not only, I was not sure if it would be sustained. I thought it would go down a little bit and stay there, not go plummeting down, but go down a little bit and stay there. But here, when we did the follow-up, it was so beautiful to see that it had actually the level of well-being had gone up even more, which means the skills that or whatever changes had happened had got so integrated in their lives that it was automatically helping them live life in a much more enhanced, have a more enriched life.
Enriched, more fulfilled life.
More fulfilled, more enriched. Everything.
What is forgiveness?
Yeah, that's the $1 billion question. So, what is forgiveness? It is, people think it's about somebody else. It's really not about the other person. It's about myself. When I don't forgive, when do I want to forgive? When I think somebody has hurt me, right? So, if somebody has hurt me, they've hurt me and they've gone, or they're there and they're continuing to do what they're doing. They may not even be bothered about what has happened to me.
Exactly.
but whose heart is bleeding with the hurt? Oh, it's mine.
Yeah.
So when I'm refusing to forgive, or if I'm going to stay vengeful, or if I'm going to be unforgiving, I'm hurting myself. They are no longer hurting me because they've hurt me only once. The rest of the week, rest of the month, rest of the year, the rest of the life, I'm hurting myself because I'm reliving that, I'm rehashing that, and I'm making myself miserable. So I don't need to do that. I can let go of it and I can set myself free. So it's not really about whether they deserve it or not. It's a question of whether I deserve to be free. Do I deserve to be happy? Do I deserve to have peace of mind? And that's what forgiveness is. It is an act which is given. It's not like bestowing some favor on someone else. It is given so that I can set myself free.
Would you agree with me or disagree that most of us don't really look at it that I need to forgive, but we are more about being angry about other person, more want to take revenge in some form or the other? It is when we become aware is when we want to forgive, right? And I'm sure in your workshops you may be having those kind of challenges, like, it's like he did this to me or she did this to me. So in the workshop, like you are here in Pune for 3-day workshop, yeah. But for our audience who cannot attend your workshop and who definitely when you want to visit her workshop, we are going to give her contact details in the description. What are the tools, before I go to the tools also, but what is that to become aware that it is me who's going through the hurt and everything? How to become aware of that?
That's actually a good point because very often people will come and say, but why do I need to do all the work? So and so has hurt me. They've done this to me, and why am I forgiving them? Shouldn't they be doing the work?
Exactly. Yeah. It's always about others. They need to do it, right?
But my question is, who's unhappy? So if you're unhappy, then you do the work. If you want to be happy, you do the work. So how do they even identify that there's something happening for them where they can do some work? One simple thing is to look at patterns. Is there some feeling that I'm going through over and over again? Like, it could be I don't feel supported, or I'm feeling dejected. Somebody keeps rejecting me. There's some kind of pain, some kind of emotional disturbance. The feeling keeps repeating in our lives.
Okay.
So that's a pattern. So the events can be different. Who's doing it could be different.
The people would also be
The
different.
people could be different. And how they're doing it could be different. But it leaves me with that kind of a feeling each time.
That's very profound.
Yeah. So like, say, somebody leaves me today. Tomorrow, somebody leaves the city. They go out of town. We may be still connected, but they're no longer with me.
Yeah.
Day after tomorrow, somebody dies. It's different ways that it's happening. But I'm always feeling that sense of loss, that somebody is leaving me, people are leaving me. So then, that's one good way to identify. This is a recurring pattern. So what is here inside of me that needs to be healed so that this pattern can be healed also.
So the first step, what I hear you say is identify your patterns. And if the same pattern is occurring in different situations with different people at different times,
or with the same person
or
over
with
and
the
over
same
again,
person, then you need to know that there is something that you need to forgive.
There is something inside of you that is waiting to be healed, and
that's waiting to be healed actually.
Waiting to be healed. So it's actually a good thing. It's reminding you something has to be done. And then you start the journey of forgiveness with that. It could be forgiving yourself, it could be forgiving the other person, whatever it is.
I'm sure you might have done n number of workshops. And what has been your observation? Is it really that people don't forgive themselves? Is really one of the major topic, or it is more about they don't forgive others? What do you see? Which is more, or is equal?
It's both.
Both.
It's both. And once you start identifying where you are not forgiving yourself, then it takes you more and more into that. So I always say start with the other person.
Acha, you say first
Yeah,
start with the
start
other.
with the other person, because if you start with yourself, it'll never end.
Really? Oh,
Then more and more guilt comes up, more and more stuff comes up, and then you start feeling worse about yourself. Oh, am I this bad?
oh yeah.
Yeah, then even because you start finding so many more things about yourself.
Yeah.
So then to have a balance, you start with the other person, then you go to yourself. So we have online workshops on both forgiveness and self-forgiveness.
But for me, it's an aha moment. I always felt it is about first forgive yourself and then forgive others. But you have turned it completely, you changed it. You said, no, first forgive others, because then you go into like guilt or maybe something more other aspect.
So it's not that you should not start with yourself, it's just that it'll never end. At least that's what I see happening. So it's like.
So, Sampoorna, how does one forgive others?
See, whether it's forgiving others or forgiving ourselves, the very first step is to take a decision. Very often what happens is people stop with that decision. They think, okay, I've decided to forgive, I'm going to let go, and so I've forgiven. And many times people tell me, no, that doesn't bother me anymore because I've decided to let go. So they think the decision to forgive completes the forgiveness process. But the decision to forgive is the very first step of the process.
Okay.
Because only when you take a decision, then you're going to continue. But you can't end it with the decision, because that's only at the cognitive level, at the intellectual level. The emotions that came up when the hurt happened, when the anger happened, those emotions have to be processed, because all that is sitting inside the body and in the mind. So without processing those emotions, the decision itself cannot complete the process. So you'll still feel every time something happens again, that whole thing will come rising
back.
up. And you might just suppress it, you might repress it and think it's over because I've taken a decision. But then it'll manifest in some other form, like disease or psychological illnesses or something like that. So the processing is very important. And that's what the whole workshop is about. So we spend 3 days processing all those emotions, so that by the end of it, one doesn't need to think about forgiveness.
It happens.
It happens. And you find yourself naturally in that state of forgiveness. And when you're in that state of forgiveness, it's what happens naturally for you is feeling love, compassion, well-being, all those kind of things, which is what is the core. That's what is in the core. And so when these layers are let go of, that's what we access.
Thank you so much, Sampoorna, for being here.
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing you soon.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I hope you've got at least 1 or 2 tools that it will help you. And the most important tool is to attend Sampoorna's workshop. Thank you. Thank you so much.